Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Christopher, and I'll be doing the presentation on osmoregulation in sharks. All right, so before I get started on osmoregulation, I would like to dedicate a couple of seconds to jog our memories and speak about osmosis first. So, question, what is osmosis? Osmosis, as we might remember, is the fusion of water across a semi-permeable membrane. So here we have a high molarity of water right over here, okay? So right here, we have a high molarity of water, which would represent a high volume of sugar. And over here, not so much, right over here. So high molarity, not so much. The solvent molecules tend to cross over from a less concentrated solution into a more concentrated one, which in turn equalizes the concentration of each side of the semi-permeable membrane. So how does this affect cells? So in the picture to the far right, you will see a red blood cell in an isotonic environment where the concentration within the cell and outside the cell are the same, right over here. There will be water movement, but with no effect on the cell itself. So water goes in, water goes out. There's movement, but there's no damage sustained to the cell itself. If you were to place a red blood cell in a hypertonic, right over here, environment or sugary water, the water within the cell would spill out of the cell, causing it to shrivel up and die. And if you place a red blood cell in distilled water, the water will rush into the cell and make a pop. This side is where we get into what is osmoregulation, the two different types that we can study. Within osmoregulation, you have osmoregulators and osmoconformers. So when we speak about sharks, they are osmoconformers, which means that first of all, your body fluids are in a osmotic balance with its environment. Second, they are marine organisms. Third, they maintain their internal environment exotonic to the outside environment. They follow the environment and do not undergo osmoregulation, and they can also survive a wide range of salinities. So specifications. So sharks' bodies are exceptionally high in urea and trimethylamine. Urea is essential for the metabolism of compounds containing nitrogen within their bodies and tissues. It is used to carry nitrogen out of the body in urine. Trimethylamine oxide is produced by the shark's tissues, which helps protect proteins from the effects of urea and is an essential component of osmoregulation. So overall, why is this important? Well, this is important because it maintains balance and functionality at a cellular level. It also plays a vital role in the excretion of metabolic waste from the body of the animal by ensuring that the cells are a bearable level in terms of the compounds within. The shark ensures that its entire body will function normally and efficiently. So, according to our text, sharks have an internal salt concentration much lower than seawater. Salt diffuses from the water into their bodies, especially around the gills. The small influx of water into a shark's body is disposed of in urine produced by the kidneys. The urine also removes some of the salt that diffuses into the shark's body. The rest gets lost in feces or is secreted from a specialized gland. So overall, they maintain osmotic balance with the seawater, and and they naturally have high levels of urea and trimethylamine and oxide in their systems. To do this, sharks do not have to drink the seawater around them, as is in the case with most fish. Instead, they keep waste chemicals in their body in high concentrations. These act to change the diffusing gradient, enabling the sharks to absorb water directly from the seawater rather than ingesting it. This means that almost all sharks are confined to seawater habitats and will die in freshwater. Okay. However, the bull shark is one exception. The anatomy of the bull shark has allowed it to change how its kidneys work to excrete large amounts of water down urine. Over here to our far left, we have our trimethylamine and oxide, our compound, and to the right of it, we have urea. So, what are the organs and compounds that the shark uses in general? So, firstly, we have the rectal gland. The rectal gland is going to be towards the very bottom over here, and it is a specialized organ in the shark's body that excretes salts. Salts are also excreted from the urine. So, through feces and urine, salt comes out. Second of all, we have, as I mentioned, trimethylamine oxide, which sole purpose is to reduce the overall toxicity of urea. We then have the kidneys, which contains high concentrations of urea. The kidney is right over here. And as I mentioned, trimethylamine oxide is used to reduce the toxicity of the actual urea itself. And then we have the skin, and then we have the gills, which the shark uses to take up salt from the water. And also, the gills allow the sharks to block off any loss of urea. And then urea, which is the last one, is essential for the metabolism of compounds containing nitrogen within their bodies and tissues. And it is especially used to carry out the nitrogen out of the body through urine. For my deeper examination, I did some research on bull sharks. And as I mentioned previously in one of the slides, I mentioned that bull sharks were an exception. So we know that sharks survive in salt water due to a high concentration of urea and trimethylamine in the bloodstream and urine that contains excess salts. So in marine environments, the external environment has a very high concentration of salt. So in order for it to stay in balance with this outside environment, however, if a shark did this, it would soon have too high salt concentrations inside its body. To deal with this, sharks' bodies contain urea and trimethylamine make the inside environment stable. Urea and trimethylamine make the inside environment saltier and then balance out the concentrations inside the body itself. It passes along to the kidneys for desalination. It passes along the kidneys for desalinization, and in sharks, the kidneys make do a very efficient job and send a very high salt concentration out via urine and retain much fresh water, which prevents the inside of the shark from having a concentration of salt that is too high. The reasons why bull sharks are unique is because they're able to survive in marine environments as well as freshwater environments. The reason why this is possible is because bull sharks have adapted their osmoregulation systems depending on what the environment they are in. When they are in marine environments, they osmoregulate like any other shark using urea, trimethylamine, and their efficient kidneys help keep an isotonic relationship with any external environment. When bull sharks are in freshwater, they tone down their kidneys and do not remove as much salt, but end up removing more urea and trimethylamine. It is important to realize that this process is gradual, that if you were to pick up a shark from freshwater and throw it into salt water or vice versa, it will automatically die. But since bull sharks have this unique ability to adapt their osmoregulation system from the normal process of getting rid of salt to retaining salt, they can live in freshwater. And just to recap on the information that was given in this presentation, sharks are osmoconformers, which actively regulate their internal salinity to match the salinity of their outside environment. The shark's blood is isotonic. The shark's blood is isotonic to the watery environment, and sharks contain both urea and trimethylamine and oxide.